The next movement is a wiggle. So what you do is you wrap your hands around the knee. You're right on top of the kneecap. And you go all the way down. In other words, there's no space between the web of your hand here and the knee. So your fingers and your thumbs go as low as possible on the knee. And then you apply a little bit pressure between your fingers and your thumbs. In other words, you squeeze them together a little bit, that you get a firm grip. You want to stay on the same spot on the skin. In other words, your fingers are not sliding. You're just sliding the skin and the fascia up and down. And you do this parallel to the floor. So like this. Looks like this. Alright, let me explain how I do that. Looks quite easy, but it's not that easy. There's quite a few things that you have to do right. First of all, if you squeeze and you move the skin up and down, you should not go to the furthest range or to the furthest point you can. In other words, if you just move your hands up, at some point the skin will just stop the movement. You can't go any further unless you start sliding. But you're not sliding, you're staying on the same spot. Same way if you go down, you can go down, 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 and at some point, the skin just stops the movement. You should not go that far where the skin stops the movement because it stretches the skin and it doesn't feel comfortable. So in other words, if the total range of the movement, the way how you could go up and down, the maximum is about this much. Let's call that 100%. You should only go about this much, maybe 70% of the possible range. So, in other words, you make this movement shorter. So not all the way up and down, but you move up and down just a little bit. So the skin never gets overstretched. That is important. The second part is, we don't just stay on the same spot. Just like before, when we worked on the kneecap and we worked on the upper edge, center, lower edge, we're doing the same thing now. So let's say you draw a line from the upper edge of the kneecap to the side of the leg, from the center of the kneecap down the side of the leg, from the lower edge of the kneecap all the way down. That is where you want to put your fingers. So now I'm wiggling along the line of the upper edge of the kneecap. Now I'm moving center, lower edge of the kneecap, center, upper edge of the kneecap. And the same principle applies when we talked about working with our whole body and not with body pressure and using variable pressure. Now watch my body now instead of my hands. I'm leaning in and increase pressure. Lean out, decrease pressure. Lean in, increase pressure. Decrease. Increase, decrease. Increase, decrease. So in other words, I'm wiggling. Let's say each wiggle in one particular spot, let's say you wiggle 10 times up and down, just for example. The first 5 wiggles would be increasing pressure. The second 5 wiggles would be decreasing pressure. Then you move your hands to a new position. First 5 wiggles, the 10, I'm just picking that out of thin air. It could be 8 or 12 or 20 or whatever. But what I'm saying is the first half is increasing pressure, the second half decreasing. Move hands, increase pressure, decrease pressure, and you follow that with your body. In other words, you lean forward while you're increasing pressure, and you lean back while you're decreasing pressure. Increase pressure, decrease pressure. You're not letting go with your hands, you're just releasing the pressure a little bit. And then you get what I call variable pressure. So that is the first part. Now we're doing the same thing, but the only difference is we move our hands up a little bit. So now, if you look at my hand, the web of the hand here is not in touch with her leg anymore, but now I'm creating a hollow space. That means my fingers are not on the side of the leg anymore, but on the side of the kneecap. So the rest is the same. It's the same movement, just that your fingers are higher on the leg, the fingers and your thumbs. The rest is the same. Wiggle up and down. Move from upper edge to center, to lower edge of the kneecap. Work with your body. Increase pressure, decrease pressure, increase pressure, decrease, like that. So it's the identical movement, just with a slightly different finger position. Now I'll show you another technique which looks similar to one I showed you already, but it's not the same. Remember the one where you had your hands right on top of the kneecap and you did those slow circles? Now, you really did that with the palm of your hand. Now what I'm going to show you, the difference is that we're not working with the palm of our hand, but we're working with fingers and thumbs. So we're not even touching the knee with the palm. We're only touching it with fingers and thumbs. And now what you're doing circles. It's really the same circles that you did in the previous technique where you had your palm right on the kneecap. So that part is the same, just the position of the fingers is different. You move from here to there. And now you do circles. And you do them faster. So the first movement, where the palm touches the kneecap, was a slow movement. This movement here is done with fingers and thumbs, again squeezing together, and it is a little faster. So we're circling again, we're going up and down our three positions that you know, upper edge of the kneecap. I mean, you're not on the kneecap, you just have the imaginary line from upper edge, center, and lower edge of kneecap, and that's where you put your fingers and thumbs. So a little faster movement. And although these movements are very fast, you still use the same principle of variable pressure. In other words, if I would do this in slow motion, increase pressure, decrease, increase, decrease. Now, because the movement is so fast, you can't really follow it with your body like in this technique. So it doesn't work because the movement is too fast. But still, I use more pressure on the upstroke, so to say, and less pressure on the downstroke of the movement. So this is a rapid movement, and if you watch her body, the whole body is moving a little bit, so it's like a mini rocking style movement. And while you're doing that, the kneecap is being pushed inside or in and out. In and out. And you go up and down several times. And you're just circling on the side of the leg. And so you do two things. You circle and you move the kneecap in and out. And after a while, you find automatically where your fingers and thumbs just fit in there. And that comes with practice. For the next technique, we have to change the position of our partner. So you lift the leg and support it with the left hand under the knee, bend it to about a 90-degree angle. And now you have to stabilize it, and you do that by moving your legs on both sides of the ankle. Now you have to be a little bit careful. You don't want to press here on the malleolus bone. You just want to maneuver your legs in such a way that you stabilize the foot so that it cannot slide all over the place. And if you look at your leg and at the ankle structure, it's pretty obvious where to put your legs. And you can always ask your partner, does this feel okay or does it feel uncomfortable? If you don't put it in the right place and it causes pain at the ankle, this would obviously not be a good thing. So just make sure that you find the right position. Now, I will show you this on the skin, a little bit easier to see. If you look at the knee, and here is the kneecap, and if you just go towards the outer edge of the kneecap, slide down with your thumbs until you're totally off the bone, and then you will find two depressions, like little hollow areas, and your thumbs just naturally fit in there. And it feels the same pretty much for everyone. So just outer edge of the kneecap, slide straight down, and you'll end up in those two small hollow depressions. And that is what we're working on. These are two pressure points, acupressure points. And now what we do is you just make small circles. And you use pressure, but you use the same principles that we already discussed. The pressure has to come from your body, not by doing this thing. If you just press with your muscle power, I can tell you your client will perceive it as painful. If you use your body, it will feel good. So don't ever forget that. You're working with your whole body. The second thing is you're using variable pressure. In other words, you lean in more pressure, you lean out less pressure. More pressure, less pressure. Keep your arms relaxed. Don't keep them rigid like this. Everything has to be a little bit, like Tai Chi. Flowing, relaxed. So watch my body and watch how I move in my elbows. So everything is moving and relaxed. So you're circling in those two spots, these two pressure points, and you work with your whole body. Try to focus your energy on your hara, on this energy reservoir behind your navel, instead of just on your fingers. That will help you connect with your entire energy field instead of just working with your thumbs. So that's an important principle. The next technique is actually like a mirror image of this one. You just transfer those two energy points below the kneecap to above the kneecap. So now you get up on your knees and you put your index fingers on the kneecap, slide up. Once you're off the bone, you will again feel those two points where the fingers just fit right in, like depressions. It feels like that. So we're using our thumbs again. Now you place your fingers under the knee. Your thumbs go in those two points right above the kneecap, and now you're doing the same thing, circling. Exact same technique, variable pressure, working with your body. Try to keep your energy centered by focusing on your hara, on the navel area. And you do these circles with pretty good pressure. So when you're done working on those two pressure points, you sit back, and I'm sitting on my toes right now. So I'm sitting on the heels and my toes are on the mat. And now we place our hands in such a way that the thumbs are in those pressure points that we worked previously, and my fingers go below the knee in such a way that my index finger is right here below the knee where the angle is. So the index finger is in there and the other three fingers are on the top part of the gastrocnemius muscle, which is that big muscle here of the lower leg. So we don't do anything with the thumbs, they're just there for support. You have to put them somewhere. We're working with the fingers now. Looks like this. You lift up. So now you're lifting the knee from underneath. Like this. You lift up. Then you lean back, pull back, roll down, release. Lift the knee, pull back, roll down, release. Now, when I say release, that is where the variable pressure comes in. Just like always in all our circular movements, we never work with even pressure, we always use variable pressure. So now you increase the pressure, pull back, roll down, now you decrease the pressure by releasing. And I follow the movement with my body, like always. So what I'm doing is this. I'm doing a circle with my fingers, and my index finger is the one, when you lift, that's what you lift with. You're right under the knee. When you pull back with all your fingers. And then you stay on the same spot on the skin. You just kind of roll down a little bit, but you're not sliding on the skin. So you're always on the exact same spot. You're just moving fascia around, like this. Working with your body, not using muscle power. See, muscle power tires you, whereas body weight or working with your whole body doesn't tire you out. It's much better ergonomically and it feels better for the client. So now, after you do this, you get up again, and now you do, in essence, the mirror image, but now in a different position. You move your hands up a little bit from this position to that position. So now you're moving up like this, in this angle. When we work on the lower leg, you pulled in this angle, and now we're using this angle. So it looks like this. The finger that does most of the work is the middle finger. Looks like this. My middle finger now is at the very bottom of the hamstrings, and I pull up, lift the knee slightly. The foot should not leave the mat. So that's why you squeeze it between your legs so that it's stable. So lift, roll back, release. Lift, roll back, release. Lift, roll back, release. So in essence, it's the same movement, just in a different position. So if you look at this in a complete way, you're working 2 pressure points below the kneecap, 2 above the kneecap. You're doing those circular movements on the right below the knee, on the lower leg, and right above the knee on the upper leg. But you always work the knee in the process. Just this position and that position. Catches a different area, different effect, but overall you're working the whole area here, below the knee. Here's another way to work on the knee while we're in that triangle position. Now, it is a rocking movement.
Personally, I love rocking movements. They're very, very relaxing. They are pain-free, and it's just really a nice feeling. Even if someone is kind of tight and has a hard time letting go, no one can resist rocking movement. So they just free up movement in a very, very great way. It just works. It's very effective. So now, as far as the position is concerned, the knee has to have some space under here. In other words, if you make the angle too steep like this, you can't get your fingers under the knee. So you have to open it up a little bit, and you're still blocking the movement of the foot between your legs, just like we did before. But if necessary, open up this angle. You can feel it, you just have to get your fingers under there. So now when you're up on your knees, you put both of your middle fingers under the knee. Now the other fingers are also there supporting it, but there isn't that much room in that position. So the middle finger is doing the main work. And when you're under the knee, the middle fingers are pretty much touching, or at least very, very close. Your hands are on the side of the knee. So they're wrapped around the knee, and you have your middle fingers firmly right under the knee. So now what you do is, I'll show you the movement like always, and then I explain how you do it. That's how it looks like. So what am I doing exactly? The first thing is that you use your right middle finger and you lift the knee up and over. Then you follow that up with the left middle finger while you relax the right one. You lift it up, move it over. Relax the left middle finger, pull up with the right one, move it over, relax. Pull up with the left middle finger, move it over. So it is like this. That's how it looks like. Pull up, move over, relax. Pull up, move over, relax. Pull up with the right, move over, relax. Pull up with the left, move over, relax. So now all we got to do, and that's a little bit easier said than done, is to do this rapidly and in a way that it feels like it's just flowing, that it's a natural rocking movement. You keep the knees stable with the palms of your hand, so they won't stay glued to the side of the leg. So sometimes they'll come away a little bit, just as natural during the course of this movement, but they help you stabilize the movement. The main work is done by the middle finger. And like always, when you end the rocking movement, you let it fade out slowly. So when you do this, you can vary the position of your middle fingers a little bit. You can have them either exactly under the knee, or you can move down a little bit so that you're at the very top of the gastrocnemius muscle, and you do the same movement there. See, now I change my angle from here to there, and that naturally changes where your middle fingers end up. Well, now you got a little bit more room because you're not exactly here in that bend, but you're on the upper part of the gastrocnemius. So now, in effect, I'm working with these three fingers, middle, index, and little finger. And the index finger is just guiding the movement. So it's the same thing, exact same technique. Or you can modify it by moving from here a little bit further up, so that you're at the very bottom of the hamstrings now, and then you do the same movement. So now my middle finger moved from here to there. First, we're right here in the middle. The second one, we moved down a little bit, so we're here. And the third one, we move from here to there. From here to there. And that means you have to change your body position a little bit. So now we're catching several areas, and you don't have to do 1, 2, 3. You can make it a smooth flow. You just keep rocking, but you change your finger position a little bit. So in other words, you're moving from here to the center, down to the gastroc, middle, lower part of the hamstrings. And that creates a wonderful flow. Show you one more time how it looks like. You see, you keep moving your body, and that will automatically place your fingers in a different spot. That's a great movement to warm and loosen the knee from underneath. For the next move, I'm sitting down again, and I'm placing my hands on both sides of the knee, like this. So the hands are totally stretched out. And now, I'll just show you how it looks like, and then I explain it. Alright, what am I doing here? In slow motion, what I'm doing is this. While the right hand moves forward, the left hand moves back. The left hand moves forward, right hand moves back. Like this. Let me offset a little bit that you can see both hands better. Like this. So right hand moves forward, left hand moves back. Left hand moves forward, right hand moves back. You stay on the same spot on the skin. You're not sliding. You're just moving the fascia around. And, like I showed you in a previous technique, you don't want to go to the extreme possible point up to which you could move the skin. In other words, you can move the skin, and now the skin stops you. The other direction, move, skin stops you. Now you're overstretching the skin. It is not comfortable at all. So what you want to do is, instead of going all the way to the possible range, make it a smaller range. So instead of going 100%, only go 60 or 70% of the entire possible range of movement. And we use our variable pressure principle again. How can you do variable pressure with this movement? Works like this. Increase pressure while you lean forward, decrease pressure while you lean back. Increase, decrease, increase, decrease. Now you're not staying on the same spot the whole time. Just like before, we work on the upper edge. You just draw an imaginary line on the side of the leg. Upper edge of the kneecap, center, lower edge of the kneecap. So now, when you work on the upper edge of the kneecap, it is better if you use the heel of your hands. And that looks like this. Then you go down, center, all the way down. Lower edge of the kneecap. Center, upper edge. The further up you go, the more you will use the heel of the hand, and the lower you go, then of course the whole palm is on touching both sides of the knee. So that is our wiggle technique. Same principle, variable pressure, work with your body, follow the movement with your body. Don't try to do it just with your arms. That will first of all feel terrible, and second, it will tire you out in no time. As soon as you work with your body, everything flows, it becomes easy, it feels natural. And as soon as you stop working with your body,
you will feel it in your shoulders and your arms, and you will just get tired and your muscles will start hurting. So always work with your whole body. I know I'm repeating myself, but I know this is so important that it needs to be repeated, because if you don't do it that way, you won't have fun working and your client won't feel as good. So now we take this technique a little bit further, and instead of going straight up and down, we're going to do circles. So instead of doing this, now we're doing this. Looks like this. Besides the fact that we're circling instead of going forth and back and forth, it's the same. We still use upper edge, center, lower edge. Lean in, more pressure, release. Increase, decrease. Increase, decrease. So you work your way up and down the leg and try not to miss a beat. In other words, let's say I'm working on the line that is the upper edge of the kneecap, and I want to move to the center, so you don't stop the movement. You don't do this, stop, start again, stop, start again. Try to connect it seamlessly. You just slide your hands to a new position. So the rhythm stays the same. That makes it much nicer than if you constantly stop and start the movement. That feels disruptive, that's annoying actually. One thing I also want to mention, when you do this in real life, in a real session, whenever you do some kind of wiggly, rocky type movement, you don't want to totally abruptly stop. You want to do this, and when you're done with it, you did all your positions up and down a few times, slowly let it fade out. I mean, sometimes when I show you, I do it quickly and I just stop, but in a real session, be very aware of this. This is how it looks like when you have time and you're doing it totally properly. Slowly let it fade out. Like this. Same with this one. Back and forth. When you're all done with it, now slowly let it fade out. So that's the right way of doing it. So what's the purpose of this here? Especially this movement has a warming effect. It's like heating up the knee, the whole knee. And it allows for much more energy to flow. See, warming is a very important principle. If you think about it, what happens when it's cold outside? People, they shrivel up, they contract everything and they draw the energy in. The body preserves heat inside, gets cold on the outside, and when it's warm, everything opens up. You can relax, you feel comfortable. So the same principle applies when you work on the body. When an area is all contracted and locked up, when you make it warm, you heat it up with a particular technique, it has the same effect like if you get in from some cold weather in a nice warm room. Now you feel good. You're not freezing anymore. Not that the knee is freezing, but the warming is very beneficial. It allows for the opening of the energy flow. So now you learned quite a few techniques how you can facilitate the opening of this energy. Of course, you do work on the physical body. And while you're doing that, the tendons, they soften and relax, and the ligaments soften, and the muscles soften. So all that is happening on the physical level, but you also work on the underlying energy. And that is really the cause. If you get the energy to flow properly, the body can heal itself. So that is why this approach of Asian medicine, that you work on both the physical and the energetic aspect, is really very, very efficient. because it works on two levels, not just on one. Now you've learned quite a few techniques for the knee. You might notice they all have something in common. There is no linear, static, direct pressure. They're all fluid, they're all motion-based, like wiggling, circling. Everything is in motion, everything is fluid. And that is quite intentional, because direct static pressure tends to be painful easily, and all those techniques that I showed you, they're not painful, they're pleasant to experience for the client. And like we talked about before, you want to change the energy of the knee from one of being, tight, compressed, painful, negative cell memory, to one of being open, warm, flowing, relaxed, with the cell memory changing to positive. So that is how you work on the underlying energetic structure, on the feeling in the body. And of course, at the same time, it's very beneficial for all the anatomical parts of the body. But all this knee work is meant to feel good. That is the main point. There is no one magic point you can press on there real hard and it fixes the knee. But there is a way how you can totally change the feeling of the knee. Actually, I want to tell you this. Once I read a report that someone underwent a knee operation, but it was actually a placebo operation. In other words, the surgeon opened the knee and did something in there, but just so that it looked like he did an operation, but he didn't really fix something. He just kind of made a cut and sewed it back together. When the patient woke up, he said he felt much better. Although there shouldn't have been any improvement, because it was just like for show. Nothing actual therapeutic had happened inside the knee. But because the patient believed that the surgeon had really done something that made the knee better, the patient felt better, and it was a real improvement. So what that shows you is that the mind is very powerful. In other words, if you can make something like the knee feel better, the body will respond strongly and the healing will just happen. Same with the guy with the placebo operation. His mind told him it should be better and his body just followed. And you can do the same thing in massage. You can convince the body part that everything is fine, everything is getting better, and the body will say, oh yeah, really? Alright, then everything should be fine, and the body just follows suit and heals it, relaxes it, and the two work together. So you want to engage the mind by doing pleasant work, not by doing some heavy, painful work, and the body will be thankful for it and will just engage the healing mechanism that it is capable of, and the body is an incredible healer. I mean, the body is just a miracle how it can heal. And what you're doing is you're aiding that healing ability that the body has with this work.